Today's homework was examining equations and inequalities. I want to go ahead and start with number 3. Number 3 says 4 times the number is greater than negative 48. Write and solve an inequality to find the possible values for the number. Represent the solution on a number line. Okay, so the very first thing I want to look at is the first sentence. The first sentence says 4 times the number is greater than negative 48. Okay, so we need to change this sentence out of sentence form and into an inequality. Okay, so first off, I'm going to look at this. 4 times the number. When I was talking to students today, it says number. Okay, do we know that number? 4 times the number, some number, right? So if I don't know its value, I'm going to go ahead and represent it as a letter. So instead of number, I'm going to put n. So 4 times a number, or 4 times n, and I can write this multiple ways, but I'm going to write it like this for the sake of, you could write it multiple ways. You could say 4 times n, so it could be written like this, 4 times n. You could do that, that's fine. So either way, you can write it. Okay, so I like it as 4 times n when the letter and number are next to each other. But you can set it up the same way. It's the same thing. Alright, it says is greater than negative 48. So I know how to write a greater than sign. And because it doesn't say greater than or equal to, I know that it's just like that. It's written like that, greater than. Okay? So the reason I put this kind of sign here and this being greater than is because, do you see when we look at this arrow that the point right here, that's the smallest point, right? And this right here is the big side. So the number right here is the big number, and the number on this side is going to be the small one. Okay? So 4n is greater than negative 48. So I'm just going to plug in negative 48 right here on the other side of the inequality. Okay. So we are going to go ahead. It says write and solve. So I went ahead and wrote it. Now I got to solve it. So how do we solve an inequality? Now, we talked about this yesterday, but it's going to be essentially the same way that we did when we actually had an equal sign here, and all we're going to do is draw a line. Now, what kind of operation are we doing right here? We have 4 times n, 4 times a number. So in order to solve these types of problems, what is my goal? My goal is that I want to find n. Okay, I need n to be by itself. Okay. So in order to get n by itself, I have to get rid of that 4 in front. So if I know that we're multiplying here, I'm going to have to undo multiplication, which is through division. So I'm going to divide by anything in front of n. So it happens that 4 is in front of n. So go ahead, divide, divide. Now I'm dividing by 4, and if I divide by 4 on this side, I also have to divide by 4 on this side as well. Okay. So what I do to one side of the line, see this line right here? If I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side. Okay, so now I know that 4 over 4, that reduces to 1, right? So I'm just going to bring n down. So 1n, or n, is greater than or less than. Now, our rule is that if we divide or multiply by a negative, then it's going to flip my sign. So, did I divide by a negative here? No, it's a positive. It's a positive 4 here, positive 4, right? So we didn't divide by a negative, so we keep this sign the same. So this sign goes like that, stays the same, okay? It didn't flip. Now, let's go ahead and if I had negative 48 little unit tiles and I had to divide it up into 4 groups, how many would be in each group? Okay, that's what this says. So negative 48 divided into 4 groups, that's going to give me negative 12. Okay. Now I'm done, or so I thought. Now I have to keep reading, right? Because that's not what it's asking for. It not only says that we need to write the inequality and solve the inequality, it also says I need to represent the solution on a number line. So over here I need to draw a number line. Okay, number line. Now I'm going to put negative 12 in the middle, okay, because n is greater than negative 12. So I'm going to represent it. I always use this number right here to start with. Now, if you need to write numbers that are greater than and less than on your number line, you can do that. what is something that is greater than negative 12? I always like to think in terms of money. How I owe $12, right? So what is going to be less? Negative 11, negative 13, okay? So for this specific example, we could also think in terms of a number line. If I had a number line, we're going to be getting smaller going this direction, okay? So the numbers get bigger as you get smaller when we're talking about negative numbers. Okay, so this is going to be negative 13, negative 11 on either side. Okay, now that we've done that, let's talk about this inequality sign. How do I represent this on a number line? So do we see that we have a greater than sign here, right? Okay, greater than. Does that have an equals underneath it? No, it does not. So when we represent on a number line, we're going to draw a circle, okay? Draw a circle, and we are not going to fill it in. Because it says that it's greater than negative 12, it does not say that it is greater than or equal to negative 12. So we leave it open, which means it's not included. So we're looking for numbers that are greater than negative 12. Okay? So what are the numbers that are greater? Is negative 13 greater than negative 12, or is negative 11 greater than negative 12? So I know that negative 11 is actually greater than negative 12. So I'm going to draw my arrow. It's going to go this direction. I'm going to shade it. And that's my answer. All right. So let's go ahead and solve 4. Okay. All right. By now, I think that you've had time to be able to look at 4. So it says, look at the inequality below. 4s is less than or equal to 25. Which of the following scenarios could be represented by this inequality? So, like I told you, sometimes when we're looking at these kinds of problems where there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of processing going on in our head. So we need to be able to pull out information that's going to be valuable, and it's going to help us with this process. So we use our PSP, our problem solving process. Okay, so what are we looking for? It says, which of the following scenarios could be represented by this inequality? So I'm looking for the scenario that can be represented by the inequality. So the scenario that matches the inequality. Okay, I'm going to write that because that means inequality right there. Okay, so what do I know? So when I break it down for you, I like to look at the inequality. So obviously, this section right here of my PSP, this is my question, this is what I know. So what is known? I know that this right here, 4s, is less than or equal to 25. I know that, right? I also know what operation is happening here. What operation are we doing? Because I don't see a plus sign, we're not doing addition. Are we doing subtraction? No. Are we doing division? No. When a letter and a number are next to each other, that means that we are multiplying. So I know this is a multiplication problem. Okay. So what I want to do is go and read all of these and figure out which one is going to emulate or be the same as this inequality. Another thing I want to talk to you about is the sign itself. This says it's less than or equal to. So when you're looking at this, when you're going through A, B, C, and D, see if you can get rid of questions based on the sign. Okay? So for instance, let's go through and read them. A says the area of a square is at least 25 square feet. What are the possible side lengths of the square? So when we're talking about area, how do we find the area of something? We multiply one side by the other, correct? So when we're trying to look at this one, it is at least, okay, so it's at least 25 square feet. So at the minimum, it has to be at least 25 square feet. So does that mean that it can be more than 25? Yes, because it just has to be at least. So because it says at least, could it also be 25? Yes. Okay. So do you see the sign right here? This is less than or equal to, and this is greater than or equal to. So these signs are different, so I can go ahead and eliminate choice A. All right. Okay. On B, I'm trying to get this straight. Okay, on B, Sharon has $4 less than her sister. Her sister has less than $25. How much money does she have? So, Sharon has $4 less than her sister. Her sister has less than 25. Okay, so what sign are we dealing with here? She has $4 less than her sister. Okay, so what kind of problem is that? So we would be talking about subtraction, right? What about her sister has less than $25? Okay, so this is my less than sign, less than, right? So when we're talking about that, this doesn't match this at all, does it? No. So get rid of B. Okay, go to C. Oscar has less than 25 problems to do for homework. He works 4 extra problems for extra credit. How many math problems does he complete? C also says something. So what keywords do you see there? Oscar has less than. Does it say less than or equal to? No, it says less than. So you're putting less than 25 math problems. Do these inequality signs match each other? No, they don't. So you need to pay attention to the wording on each problem to figure out which inequality you're using. So get rid of this one. Okay, last one. Conrad wants to build a square sandbox with a perimeter of no more than 25 feet. What are the possible side lengths of the sandbox? So obviously we're talking about perimeter. I know that with perimeter I have to add all my sides up, right? So Conrad wants to build a stand with a perimeter no more than 25 feet. So I'm looking at that one. So if you're thinking about the inequality sign, it says no more than 25. So it can't be 26 feet, can it? Because it can't be more than 25. So if it's not more than, it's going to be less than. Now, if it says no more than 25 feet, could it also be equivalent to? Could it be equal to 25 feet? Yes. Okay, so we see our signs are matching, okay? And when I'm looking at this and I see 4S, S is going to represent my side length, right? So side length. So if I'm looking for perimeter here, that would be, I have 4 sides, so 4 sides to a square sandbox, right? 4 sides, you multiply the 4 times the side length, and that is going to be less than or equal to 25. So D is going to be your answer. Alright, I have done 1 and 2, and you have a total of 9, so you need to finish the rest for homework. Thank you.